What is going on, you guys? We are at it again with another Local Diaries episode. We are taking rogue decks to locals and trying to top. I'm your guide, Cyrus Obsidian, on this adventure in Local Diaries. So let us dive right in. What's going on, you guys? So we are taking another rogue deck to locals. Last time we took Invoked Eyes, as I love to call it. We are still labbing that up a little bit, just that way we can have it just a little bit more fine-tuned and ready for more challenges to come as Maze of the Master drops soon. But today we thought we would shake it up a bit. I've only played this deck once on this channel. It just got released in Master Duel, I guess last month actually. But we are taking Exodia back to locals. The first run we had with it ended up in a complete failure and disaster, as we only won one match out of 5 rounds that day. Might have been 4, but it was so devastating to me that I just threw the deck into storage and we would never talk about it ever again. But here we are. After Master Duel released it, we figured let's give it another shot, and it has some support coming out here in the future that does help the deck just a little bit. But let me show you the rogue deck that we are cooking up with Exodia, and then we're going to take it to locals and see how well we can do with it there. All right, so I am super excited to give this deck another run because I think it does have some mad potential as a good rogue strategy. But to start off, we are playing one each of each piece of Exodia. Don't mind the left leg not being a QCR. We just have yet to pick one up. But we are playing all 5 pieces of Exodia as is needed. We are playing 3 copies of Heart of the Blue Eyes because this card is just really solid into getting our engine going and is a good interruption. We are playing 3 copies of Sengenjin, Wakes from a Millennium, since it gets us every Millennium monster that we need. Playing 3 copies of Shield of the Millennium Dynasty, and then 2 Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures. So I think this is a really standard Millennium lineup. These cards are really good in themselves to get us into the main card of this deck, which is 3 copies of Millennium Ankh. Without Ankh, this deck would be nothing really. It would just be an old school draw 5 pieces of Exodia and win off of that condition. But we are no longer in that area of Yu-Gi-Oh! We are in an area where we gotta just control the board. So we are playing a Wedgie Temple, which helps us get into our combos, any dead cards that we have in our hands. Wedgie Temple lets us fix that and get into any of our Millennium monsters. We do play 1 Obliterate Blaze, as this card is pretty good for the OTK, but that's all it's really good for. And then 2 Exod Fires of Rage, because this deck is, or this card is bonkers in this deck, and he'll be a complete board wipe during your opponent's turn, and even during your turn if you need it to be. It is just really good at being able to just help you shut out games really quickly. That's it for the Millennium. So as you can see, this is all of the engine that we have, right, for the deck. So the rest of it is non-engine. So what kind of non-engine we would be filling? We are playing 1 copy of Prod of Prosperity and 1 copy of There Can Be Only One. I think There Can Be Only One is just really niche for this deck since we play around all of that, and considering we're in a format where decks are playing, you know, multiples of 1 typing, There Can Be Only One's going to really help us out there. We also do play 3 copies of Super Poly, because Super Poly goes really hard right now in this meta with Blue Eyes being in there, Fiendsmith, the White Forest, Ryziel, Malice, you name it. There's just so many decks that Super Poly can just totally change the tides with. So that's one part of our non-engine, and then the rest of it is hand drops. So we are playing 1 copy of Bystial Magnamut. Magnamut gets us into our Heart of the Blue Eyes going second, which is really cool and critical because we do need to do that. But it also helps us alleviate cards from our opponent's graveyard, especially in matches like Blue Eyes where that matters. But if it doesn't, we also have D-Shifter, and we can get rid of our own D-Shifter from our graveyard to search our Heart of the Blue Eyes. And D-Shifter in some cases can be a turn-ending card, or in some it's just fueling our opponent's strategy. So we are going to see what happens with that. We do play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and 3 copies of Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. So Moonlit Chill is probably an interesting tech, rather Veiler, because Mourner can play around the D-Shifter, which is really great. And Mourner also helps us with burn damage when we need to, because the deck, we do pay life points if we don't have Ankh in our hand, so that does hurt, and Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill can help us fix that, being able to alleviate and burn our opponent too for whatever monsters that they get rid of, or if they decide to keep it on the field, whatever, its effects are negated anyhow. So that's the reason why we're playing it, because this deck does hurt us going into time. And effective negation is really good too, so infinite impermanence overall. So having 2 forms of effect negation is really good. And then we are playing 2 crossout and 1 called by, which could be a little skeptical, but hear me out. This deck has a weakness, and it's called Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. This deck can play around Imperm, Valor, Mourner, but it has a hard time playing around Ghost Spell, Ghost Ogre, because the Millennium monsters do act as continuous spells, so you're able to ogre those, which hurts. So the crossout and call by are there for those reasons, to be able to hit those cards. Since we play under Nibiru, we play under Shifter, obviously, this deck is really good about playing under those cards. It's just Ash that is really difficult to play around. So we lay those in there for that reason. Also, you can't play the Dominus cards, and we don't have those anyways. So for a budget, you know, this is what we're going with. So that is our main deck. It is a 45 card deck, so it does have a little bit of girth to it, but I think at 45, you're gonna have a lot of chances of seeing your non-engine overseeing the 5 pieces of Exodia, and that's what I was trying to help avoid as much as possible, because in a 40 card deck, I was seeing multiple copies of the pieces of Exodia in my hand. So by upping it, your chances are a lot lower of seeing a piece of Exodia in your starting hand. And then going to the extra deck, we are playing 3 copies of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. It's not often that you actually go into 3, but if you need to, you got it. And that's the only card that really matters in the extra deck. The rest of it, as you saw, we are playing Super Poly, so we are playing 1 Magistus Choroso, which is a really great Super Poly target against the Blue Eyes matchup. Same thing with Mud Dragon. This is also just good against any spellcaster-based deck. Mud Dragon, as we all know, has been really great as a Super Poly target. We are playing 1 Azamina Illisilvia because we do play against Whitewoods. This is also just a really good Super Poly target as well. And if Chimera Illusion's there, you know, we're able to use that possibly. But if not, we also have Garura, which is just a great one, and Dragostapilia. And then we do follow up for Chaos Star Source Dragon, which this is mainly for the Blue Eyes matchup, requiring 1 light or dark dragon monster and a dragon monster. So Blue Eyes tends to leave a board full of dragons, Super Poly those away, and its effect being able to destroy up to the number of light and dark monsters used as material. You know, most of the time you're really just popping 1. So that can change the tide of things, which is really critical. We do play 1 Typhon because Typhon's just really good as well. We play 1 Moon, 1 SP, 1 Asa, since this makes a lot of Earth monsters. 1 Sorcerer of Seebeck, which I thought was a really interesting tech to gain life points. Sure, Millennium Ankh shuffles your stuff back, but going towards like a turn 2 for you, you're able to make link into this, and you can burn for 1,000. You inflict battle damage, you gain that much life points. So I mean, this is a really good time card if need be. And then last but not least, we are playing 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, because interesting niche tech with Moon of the Closed Heaven. You know, it does have an actual effect where you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. This turn, if you were to use it for a Link 5 summon, you can use the targeted card as material. So essentially, you're going to be using your Moon plus 1 of the monster you targeted plus another card of theirs, and then you're making Underworld Goddess. So really cool. Also another monster you control. So I mean, yeah, that's it for the extra deck though. As I said, it is budget, so I mean, all of these cards have been reprinted. If they haven't, they're like really cheap to pick up. Definitely recommend. Same thing goes with the main deck. And then moving to our side deck where things will matter a lot, we're playing 3 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being, because Nib is really good in this format right now. We're playing 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and 3 copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. So these hand traps are to help in matchups where some of the cards like Shifter or the Mourners don't really matter. And if we are playing close into time into a combo deck, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood to gain life points, especially since we pay life points, that card is going to be really good. And then last but not least, for the monsters that we are siding, we are playing 3 copies of Lava Golem. Since we don't normal summon ourselves, we can just clear a board like Super Poly, just get rid of 2 of our opponent's stuff and give them a Lava Golem that will burn them in their standby phase. So it's another time card in a way, which it's just really interesting, but it's also really good at clearing the board, and then we can swing over it too if need be to OTK. And then last but not least, we are playing 3 copies of Evenly Matched because I love Evenly Matched, and I think in this deck, it's really good. We did get Secret Village locked last time we played, so to avoid that, we are keeping Evenly Matched. We can evenly their board. We can Lava Golem them, get rid of their spellcasters, so that way we're free to do whatever we need to. And this just helps us just clear the board. Sure, we were more of an OTK-like strategy, but we can also just set up for follow-up and OTK on that. So that's it for the side, extra, and main. So let's head out to locals to see how well we can obliterate our opponent. All right, you guys, so here we are, Duke City, round 1. I have no idea what we were playing against, to be honest, because we set 2, passed through Shifter on his turn, he set passed, and I top decked Millennium Monk to just OTK through his whatever he had. We're under Shifter. Game 2, I Shifter him again. I was so glad Shifter was in my hand. He he summoned Diabell Star, and then passed with that. I had Ankh, so I mean, we just comboed off, got ourselves a second Ankh just in case he couldn't kill me. And I just swung in because his set was a Debtors, which has to send a graveyard, which under Shifter cannot. And then his other one I just negated with Exodia because he did it in the battle phase. So we were able to just take round 1. I have no idea what we were playing. I'm assuming it was Chimera, Illusion, Fiendsmith, but that's my assumption. Could also have been Memento. I have no idea. But it was a deck that needed the graveyard, so Shifter for the win. Who knew playing Floodgates was a good idea? But my starting hand in game 1 was Tickboo, Super Poly, Shifter, Mourner, and then a piece of Exodia. So the fact that I top decked into Ankh was definitely my saving grace. I made a mistake. I should have gone second. So round 2, we play against a going second Ryziel deck, which is full of board breakers. It does the whole OTK with double or nothing. Game 1, I win. I win the die roll. We go first. We set up the Exodia, and we just have a hand traps to stop him in his place. Game 2, he makes me go first. We set up the Exod with the Exodia, cross out, imperm. He lightning storms. I negate it. He goes pot. And I'm like, do I ash it? I let him take it. And he gets Duster. Duster's my board. I'm like, I should have ashed it. Should have ashed it. Oh, that's on me. Because I had the Imperm, I had the Crossout, and the Exod, which is going to be enough to stop him, but of course, I messed up. But anyways, he takes my Exodia from me using tactics, and then it kills me with my own Exodia, and then game 3, I went first, and I should have gone second. I should have made him go first, set up his board, and then we just OTK through him, but grave mistake. So we ended up losing. We're 1-1. We still have 3 more rounds left. We'll see what happens. All right, so round 3, we play against another Ryziel player. Game 1, we go second, and we just did not draw great. So we weren't able to break his board, just a little bit back and forth. Game 2, we set up our combo the way it should be, but it just wasn't enough. But we were able to hold on by the depths of our hand traps to take it. And then game 3, I bricked super hard. I was hoping that my top deck would be Lava Golem, and lo and behold, it's Nib. So we ended up taking the L there. 1-2 right now. We still got 2 more rounds, and we'll see what happens. We can only go up, right? Round 4. 1 more round left. We played against Marincess. We won the die roll, so we go first. We set the Exod, Exodia, and Tickboo, because we actually saw Tickboo in our starting hand. He normal summons Blue Tang. I go unaffected Tang, Tickboo. and he just sent, passed. I went Exod, Blues boards, set Obliterate Blaze, and then came back to me, activated the Obliterate Blaze, and then just OTK'd. Game 2, he made me go first. Set up pretty much the exact same thing, and it was the exact same way. But this time I didn't have Tick Boost, so we were definitely relying on Exod, and then I had set Called By. And then I had a Mourner, I think is what I had in hand. I had something, I don't recall. But we just played with it. We nuked his board again when he had already used his normal summon, and it's like, all right, do you have the follow-up? He did, but we had still the Exodia negate, and we were able to use that on the Marin Says Deep Dive. Marin Says Dive, not Deep Dive. Marin Says Dive. Negate that, he passed his turn, we set the Obliterate Blaze, and we OTK'd again through. So, 2-2, not too bad. We still got one round though, so we'll see. Doing a lot better than the last time we played this deck, so I mean, that's a plus. There are cards I haven't seen, like Bestial Magnuma, might just drop that. Tick Boo, we saw it once in this case, but we are seeing a lot of Mourner, and Mourner is definitely putting in work, just not as much as I had hoped, but it is doing enough where it matters, which is great. Last and final round, we played against Blue Eyes Paramite. So we're very notorious for playing against this deck, either at the end or in the middle. Beginning, middle, or end typically is when we play against this player. It's always a fun time. Game one, I went first. I just set up Exodia, Exod, and I had one other set. I don't remember what it was. Passed. We had a buttload of hand traps, Mourner, Ash. We were cooking, and we just took it with Obliterate Blaze, and we just OTK'd. Game 2, we opened up 2 Heart of the Blue Eyes, Wedju, Unk, and Mourner. We Mourner. He has the extension, and he goes through, and he just does his full combo, and he Secret Village locks me, Ultimate Spirit Dragon, Stardust Cipher, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. It was a full board, and we drew for turn, saw another Heart of the Millennium, Blue Eyes, and we were just like, let's go game 3. Game 3, we set up a pretty similar board as game 1, with Exod, Imperm, Tick Boo, with Ash and Nib in hand. So I mean, we were cooking either way with Exodia. So I mean, we just took it, we blew up the board, we negated, Ashed, we had it all. And I think we also had Mourner too. Mourner was like glued to my hand all night, which is great. And so we take it going 3-2 tonight with Exodia, much better than the last time we played it, which is a plus. I don't know where we're gonna stand out of 20 people. I think that's how many were here tonight. So we'll see. We'll stay to find out. So out of 19, we placed 7th. So we did make top cut, with top cut being top 8. So we had our money back, which is awesome. But that's it for this local diaries, you guys. Honestly, Exodia is a really good rogue deck, depending on how you build it. I think in the future we might go DD Crows rather than the mag, but we're still trying to figure things out. But like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. We'll pass it over to you.